Hi everyone, welcome back to Empowering the Artist Within, the space for creativity, self-expression and personal growth. I'm Liz Ross and I'm here to inspire and uplift you through meaningful conversations and powerful affirmations. On today's episode, I'm joined by two wonderful guests, Sarah Evans and Katie Stansfield from Bury Art Museum and Gallery. Sarah is the Arts and Museum Manager and Katie is the Events Officer, and today we're talking about Bury Arts Festival. This conversation is all about the joy of creativity, the power of community, and the connections that blossom when people come together to share and experience art. Sarah and Katie take us behind the scenes of the festival, sharing how it began, how it's grown, and the difference it's making for local artists and families. We talk about inspiring success stories, free workshops that open the door to creativity for all, and the beautiful way this festival keeps art accessible and inclusive. The reason I think this conversation is so important for all of us, not just for those local to our area, is because I feel that it can often be really hard to know where to start if you want to show your work. Places like local art galleries might feel unapproachable. I know when I first began, I was really aware that there weren't that many opportunities in my area for open studios and art trails. I didn't have my own art studio as I worked from the spare room in the house, and I didn't feel that was very professional, and it meant that I wasn't able to open my house up to show my work off, or so I thought. So this conversation helps us to realise that actually there are more opportunities available when we open ourselves up to them, and that we can approach places in our local area, because often they are looking to support us and to help local artists, creators and makers in whatever ways they can. And so we shouldn't let our barriers to success be defined by what we perceive to be our limited opportunities. I really hope this conversation will demonstrate that there are other creatives out there who live locally to you that you might not even be aware of, and that there will be opportunities to make links with museums, galleries, shops, and other community spaces in your local area, and they may well be willing to support you. You might not need to have a studio or an open house to show off your work if you don't want to. There might be other ways. And I know I often think about getting together with other local artists and finding a venue to host an exhibition where we could all share our work and just take it in turns to man the exhibition. And I think that's such a great idea and something that could be a real success. So there's definitely options out there. I think we just need to be open and look for them. And I really hope that this conversation will spark something in you, and that it will help you to realise that there are more opportunities to connect and collaborate than you realise. I hope that it will help you to seek out those connections and trust that your work does have a place in your local community. So I really hope that you enjoy this episode. Today, I'm really excited because I've got two very special guests with me, and they are from my local area, Bury in Manchester, from the Bury Art Museum and Gallery. So welcome Sarah Evans and Katie Stansfield.
Morning, Liz. Thanks for having us.
Hello.
Oh, it's fantastic to see you both. Thank you so much for joining me. So we're going to chat about Bury Festival of Art, and I'm really excited to get into it, for everyone to hear all about our arts festival. Before we get started, if people want to find out more about you two, where can they find you?
To get more information about upcoming events and everything surrounding the art museum, they can follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Bury Art Museum. We've also got our website, www.buryartmuseum.co.uk, and that's got all of our information. That gets updated all the time. So yeah, always nice updates on there.
Okay, perfect. That's fantastic. So if you're interested in the upcoming Bury Festival of Arts, then you can go and follow the social accounts and have a look on the website as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about Bury Festival of Arts? It came about last year. That was the first time it was hosted. We've never had anything like that in our area before. And for me as an artist, I've called myself an artist for maybe about 5 years now. I wasn't aware of many of the artists in the local area. I'm in an art membership, and a lot of people are from all over the world and the UK. There are often open studio events or local art trails in their areas, and it's something that I was missing, and it was something that I couldn't get involved with because that wasn't really available. Last year when you launched this, it was really exciting and fantastic to be a part of, and I'm excited to talk about my experience of it. I'd love to know how it came about and where the idea came from.
Yeah, so as you say, a lot of our colleagues, if you like, in other areas, our cultural partners, there's a lot of trails and art festivals, but it's never something we've done before. But we knew that there's so many artists, creatives, and makers in and around Bury that we felt it was time. I think there was a real demand for it. It coincided with having a big chunk of funding, which was very fortuitous, which came from back last year. It was the UK Social Prosperity Fund. So that's government money. And we allocated quite a lot of it for cultural activities, including the festival. So really, it was a way to bring together artists and makers from across the whole of Bury and showcase the talent, whether that's exhibiting artists or people delivering workshops. We really wanted to raise that profile and give them the opportunity to come together as well, which I think is one of the successes of last year. And there was a real celebration of that, wasn't there? The feedback was, we want more of this. We want more opportunities where we can come together and actually just meet other artists, because we had a lot of artists who they'd never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
A lot of them had never shown their work. So even just the fact of we've given you a space in gallery or venue, it was kind of them deciding, well, how do I show my work? What do I do? How do I price it? So a lot of learning as well, and actually being able to discuss that with other artists. That, I think, for us was one of the biggest successes of the festival last year.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree from my point of view as an artist. And it's really interesting to hear your point of view as to why you wanted to put it on and why that was important for you and for Bury as a town. And I definitely agree that it was such a success from that point of view. I mean, I'd only started showing my work in January, and it was only in local cafes, bars, markets. I hadn't done anything with such kind of visibility and kind of importance being in that kind of space. Certainly for me, because you allowed artists to come together in a venue to have that experience of meeting local artists and connecting with them and seeing their work, seeing, like you say, that they hadn't exhibited before or shown their work before. It gave you a little bit of confidence and motivation and that connection. So it was really, from an artist point of view, a fantastic opportunity for us to put ourselves out there. And like you say, for some of us for the first time.
What was great to see was that there was artists as a gallery. We work with, local, regional, and international artists, but a lot of artists came forward to be involved who we'd never worked with before. So again, that was brilliant. There's just a few real great success stories that I'd like to share with you, just to highlight the range of not only the ages of people that were involved, but kind of the background. So we had the lady, I'm sure she won't mind me mentioning the name, Barbara Harding. She's done a lot of more textile-based work, but she's in her late 80s now, but she's fairly recently taken up doing more like 2D painting work. And she exhibited with us for the first time, like I say, in her 80s, and that's given her real drive forward. And she joined us again just before Christmas last year at our Christmas art fair, and she sold 5 pieces of her work. So give her that kind of boost. And then we had another lady who had just a stall, and then this time around she's delivering a workshop. She's now joined the Bury Art Society. And then we have our own group. We call them the Friday Morning Art Group. It's a group of people who've met here for years and come together as a way of supporting each other, and they use art as a way to deal with things that life throws at them. They've become involved as well, and they're having a stall this year.
That's amazing.
I'll let Katie say a few words about her take on it, but for me, it shows the talent that's across Bury, but also it's making it accessible.
100%.
So we as an organisation encourage people to have a go. Because I think certainly my sort of generation, if you were at school, you were either deemed as being good at art or not being good at art. And what we try and do is say, well, that's not how it works. You do it because you enjoy it, you get something out of it. It's about expressing yourself. Doesn't matter really whether it's good or not. And I think for me, that was part of the festival, showing the breadth of different media, different things that people work with as well.
Yeah, just generally the festival. The thing that really stood out for me with it last year was that no matter who you were, whether you were a child, whether you were an adult, whether you were a young person, whoever you were, there was something in the festival for absolutely everybody. For example, on the Saturday, last year, there were plenty of venues across the whole borough. My partner actually took me to different venues. He's not massively into his art, but when he was walking around, he was going, this is actually brilliant. This is actually so interesting to see. And for example, Art in Whitefield, they had a fair in Hamilton Road Park. And when we were there were so many people who were like, this is brilliant. And they just stumbled upon it because they'd found it in the local park. So many people getting involved, but it's just brilliant. As Sarah said, with the amount of artists who we've now got those connections with who we didn't have before. And I've been in contact with wider groups as well. It's nice to get the community feel that there's so many artists in Bury, and a few of them have sort of expressed that sometimes it can be a bit like, I don't know how many artists are in my area, I don't know who there is to speak about these things. So it just gives artists the opportunity to have those conversations.
There was 2 ladies that I remember who literally their streets were back to back, and neither of them knew that the other one was a practicing artist, but discovered each other as a result of the festival. So yeah, there was lovely little stories like that. And last year there was a few people opened up either like the garage or their own studio. So there was that. We've done it slightly differently this year, but there was quite a personal element to it.
I think for me, it was really nice to kind of have a look at the map and see the vast amount of local artists and people practicing art, and just kind of open your eyes to the fact that, it's so easy to be in online communities and to have I'm in online memberships and I have those connections with people, but it's so important to have them in your local area and in person. Katie said about the Art in Whitefield having the fair in the park. That's something that people don't even know Art in Whitefield exists. Neil's worked so hard to raise that profile and to bring people in so that we can raise the profile of Whitefield as well as Bury, and raise the profile of artists and creators across our local areas, because you mentioned that there are other cultural neighbouring places and they have quite a high profile. It's important for us to raise our profile as well and have those connections and opportunities. I know for myself, it was such a fantastic opportunity. I'm so excited that you're able to repeat it again this year. I'm absolutely gutted I'm not able to take part. And it's such a shame because it really was wonderful to be a part of. I hope it continues year on year so that I can have another chance to be a part of it. But you mentioned, Sarah, that it's slightly going to be different this year. Do you want to talk a little bit about what kind of changes you've made?
Yeah, so last year we tried, part of our mission, and again this year, was to have some kind of activity in each of the townships, I suppose, across the borough, so Ramsbottom, Radcliffe, Bury, Whitefield, Prestwich, etc., to kind of have that representation. And we managed that last year, and it was a mixture of, we had activity at the gallery and other bigger, more established venues. As I mentioned, some people opened up the homes, not as many as we'd previously imagined, personal studios. It was quite a widespread, and I think part of the feedback we got, because that was one of the things Katie did brilliantly, was actually obviously getting that feedback, not just from people who'd attended, but from the artists that took part, to see how we could do it better. I think that over the weekend it was quite a spread. If you actually did want to try and see as much of it as possible, it was a little bit prohibitive.
I'd agree with that.
Also, timescales were a factor this year. We were successful in getting more funding, which is fantastic, but it came a lot later in the day. It's quite often the case than we hoped. So we've had to squeeze in our activity to a shorter timescale, hence why it's October this year instead of July last year. We've streamlined it a little bit. So we've got more hubs this year, which I won't reel them all off now, but if you go to the website and follow us on socials, it'll have the detail. In each of the townships across Bury, there will be activity on the Saturday and the Sunday, which I think will be a bit more manageable. People did want to travel. There's a bit more going on, I would say, at each of those venues. So that's a range of artists exhibiting their work. We've got workshops, we've got, different activities going on, something for families as well. So yeah, a little bit different, but that is partly responding to the feedback that we had from last year.
One of the ideas as well with the art club generally though was because we had so much positive feedback from artists about working with other artists, it was like, well, get people in venues in their own area as much as possible. Those conversations can still go on. But yeah, so it should be, as Sarah said, each venue you go to now, there should be quite a lot going on. It should be a nice experience regardless of where you go. So we've got Market, we've got Greenmount Old School. There's so many different venues across the borough taking part, and it's going to be hopefully absolutely brilliant.
We've got about 54 individual artists, and then we're working with a few groups. So Bury Art Society, Bury Collective, Art in Whitefield. We've got Hotbed Press, the Friday Art Group I mentioned. There's probably loads of others, but yeah, a mix of individuals and groups coming together and representing themselves. And
that's fantastic.
Especially having some of the more established artists. Again, that's really good for people like yourself who said it was fairly new to you.
Yeah.
It's a way for them to learn, just get a bit of advice and feel like you're part of that community. Like you said, you're perhaps meeting people you can then follow up with and meet in person, because online is great for many things, but I still think you can't beat actually being in the room with people.
Yeah, absolutely agree 100%. I mean, it's so important, and especially as an artist, because your local area and your local community is so important in order for you to have that visibility and to grow. Online is great for so many things, and it is wonderful, and the reach can be amazing. But like you say, that nothing beats being in person and for people in your local community knowing who you are. Like you said, for me, I've been doing it for a few years now. I'd say I was a new artist in terms of showing my work and starting to exhibit. It's so helpful to start building those connections and also to see what's out there. That was the first time I'd probably heard of Bury Art Society, but I didn't really know much about them. Because I was exhibiting on Saturday. On Sunday, I went to a couple of the venues and I met some other people. I met some people from Bury Art Society, and there's Bury Art Collective as well. And I think Whitefield Life Drawing as well, which I was a part of for quite a while. So there's all these groups that are locally there, but one, I guess, you might be nervous to reach out to these people, especially if you're new to it all. And also, you might not even know where to look. People might not even think, oh, I'll go on the Bury Art Museum website and see what's available. I wouldn't have thought that before. And then that's brought it to my attention. So now, I was involved in Art on Whitefield from very early on. Watching that grow has been fantastic. Just having the knowledge that there are these kind of collectives and societies out there that you could reach out to or be a part of, or just knowing that they're there for when you're ready is something that I think has come through from the Arts Festival that potentially people wouldn't really even think about. And that's a really wonderful thing.
Yeah. Going back to your first question about how it came about, one of the other things, we're run by the council, and one of the things that we've been looking at in the last few years is that provision for artists in terms of studio spaces and actually having more of a physical presence in the town centre. So we've got the Two Crows, which is in what used to be the Automatic next to the Met in Bury. It's very close to our heart because Lee Crocker is a member of our team, and Alison used to work here as well. So, well, that really highlights that there is that necessity for space, but also there's such a thriving artist community. So again, that was part of it. It's supposed to show the volume of artists there are across Bury, and then it gives us a bit more leverage in terms of, well, actually, what can we do as an authority to support that, like in some of the other, neighbouring boroughs, where there's a bit more established kind of presence. These things take time, but I think the more of this we can do and build the profile of creatives, then it just keeps moving forward. I should give Two Crows a shout out because I forgot them. Yeah, they're very involved in the weekend as well, and we'll be delivering activity as well. I mean, the creative industry is still one of the biggest industries, and with all the AI coming in into lots of different things, people being creative. And I know it is used in creatives, but the skills that artists and makers develop in terms of problem solving and developing skills, that we're always going to need that
Yeah.
in design. That there's certain elements of that AI can't. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of the industry, it's really important that we support it and keep it going.
And raise the profile, like you say. It's almost like you've got to prove that there's a need for it and there's a necessity, but it's a bit of a catch-22 situation. How can you prove it until you're allowed to prove it and you're given the funds and that opportunity to say, this is what is needed, this is what artists need, this is what we think can be helpful, can be supportive, this is what we need in our community. And fortunately, you were able to get that funding to kind of start that process. But like you say, it can be a long process. Neighbouring communities are doing it and seemingly maybe further ahead, but it just takes that little bit of time. And I guess maybe a little bit of luck or fortune to actually start the process and say, look what we've done. And then from that Festival of Arts, we then had the Christmas Fair, which you mentioned, which I was a part of, and it was just such a wonderful atmosphere. Same as the summer festival, it was just really thriving and such a gorgeous, vibrant atmosphere and environment. So many families came to visit, and it was wonderful to exhibit in the gallery in such a beautiful space. It felt, as an artist, incredible and uplifting to have your art in that space. Another fantastic opportunity came about through the fact that you put yourself out there, you put this festival on, it was really successful. Lots of artists, makers and creators came forward. And then it's like, okay, yeah, there is a need for this and there are people that we could support. And what other ways can we do that? So, you know, I think that was really fantastic.
We had back in 2023 our first open exhibition, which again, other surrounding galleries have done that for years, but we never had. For our first one, we had over 400 submissions.
Wow.
It was just phenomenal. That was across the Northwest, so that wasn't just Berry. But again, it just shows you there's so many people out there.
And there's such a need for it.
Yeah. So we have this autumn, the details haven't been released yet, but we are doing our second open exhibition.
So exciting for me.
Yeah, keep your eyes on our socials and on the website.
Because again, I couldn't enter that because I was away on the date that we had to bring the artwork down. So I missed out on that as well. So I really hope this will be able to do that. The details will be going
out shortly, yeah. And I think what was lovely was we managed to at least have one submission from each person that submitted. So I think they could submit up to 3 works. I'm not quite sure of the details this year, but so that's like, you know, 400. I think we had 100, loads of work anyway, filled the gallery. And we had a young person's section as well, which we will be having again. So again, that's just encouraging young people coming through that, you know, I think there's a perception that art isn't a career. You know what I mean? It's not something that you should pursue, but I absolutely think even if it's not from that perspective, from a well-being, there's lots of different benefits to encouraging people to create, do art.
Oh, absolutely. And I would love to encourage submissions from the younger generation as well. So when those details come out, if you share them with me, then I can put them on my socials for people as well. Because I think that particularly for the local artists as well, but particularly for the younger, my daughter is second year sixth form, and so I know some of her friends are doing art, and it would be so lovely for that age group to be able to submit work like GCSE and A-level kind of age, or going in or university, and from the younger ones as well. But it's just it would be such a lovely opportunity for that age group who might be considering it but wondering if it's even a possibility of a career. Because I do think that there is still that kind of, there's a lot of question around whether it can be a successful career. So I think that's a really good point. Yeah. Katie, I wanted to ask you about the Christmas Fair and Berry Arts Festival. What can you say about both of those events in terms of the feedback you got from other artists and how it was for you organising and putting those events on?
The events themselves are absolutely amazing. They're wonderful to organise. There was highlights because it was my first year in post last year. Two of the first things that I did were the art festival. There were several events going on, but the art festival and Christmas fair were the big ones. It was just a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. It's a lot of planning goes into it. I won't lie, there's a lot of, you'll know that I email you quite a lot with different things. And it's fantastic. And just to see everyone on the day, because it's not often that sometimes you get to experience the events themselves because you are so sort of in organisation head.
Yeah.
But with the art festival last year, when it started running, it was just brilliant to be able to actually go around and almost experience it as a visitor. Same with the Christmas fair. Once it was up and running, it was like, right, we can actually enjoy this now. And just seeing people about laughing, enjoying it, and artists genuinely coming up to us afterwards and going, it's been amazing to speak to people, to have these opportunities. I personally myself, I'm not an artist directly. I want to be. I'm just not brave enough yet. But it's one of those things where it's given me the thing where I'm like, confidence. I would just thoroughly encourage anybody, if you are interested in this, like, please do come and have a look around because it is such a wonderful atmosphere. It's so lovely. And you do go away feeling nice and happy. And it's just lovely to see everyone together with it. And with the Christmas event, we also had the Grinch running around, so we spilled books,
Yes.
which was absolutely fantastic.
We were a bit worried about our art with the book.
But no, I think it's a thing as well that there's sometimes the idea that maybe these events can be a little bit like, you've got to be, especially with art galleries, you've got to be quiet, you've got to walk, and it's not equal. It is just a vibrant, wonderful event, and it's just like seeing people talking, chatting afterwards. And the feedback we got last year was absolutely amazing. So we're hoping that this year again we get that sort of positive feedback. We had quotes from artists saying it's given them confidence. They've never done anything like this before. They've got the confidence now to go out and actually exhibit. I've now got contacts to be able to speak to people and ask those questions. It's just amazing to know that an event we've put on has given people those opportunities.
I think that's incredible that you've been able to put that on and have that kind of feedback and effect for people, because that's what we need. And especially in the local area, you mentioned about the activities and workshops that will be going on. One of the things I loved about the festival is that even though I wasn't running a workshop or in an area where workshops were running, there were families coming in. It was a real family event. People that wouldn't, like you say, there's kind of a stigma about maybe going to an art gallery. You've got to be quiet. Is it the right thing? You know, a lot of people either may be nervous or they just don't think it's for them. Whereas you had families coming, they would go to different venues around the weekend. And I certainly have met some fabulous and gorgeous families that are now staying in touch with through the event. The children, it was just giving them that kind of encouragement and confidence that they can create in whatever way they want. They can express themselves, and there'll be opportunities for them to show their work. There's opportunities for them to enjoy art, and a lot of the art was at accessible prices as well. So it wasn't like thousands of pounds and not something to buy. The children would maybe want to buy something, and that was accessible for families as well. I think that's really important to highlight. And the workshops, are they free for families? Because I think it's important to mention that side of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see on the website there's some brilliant ones this time, aren't there? One thing, maybe this is a plea to your listeners, Liz, but one thing we do sometimes find when we offer free workshops and events, people will book on, and then perhaps because it's free, gets closer to the day and think, oh, well, we just won't turn up. So there always is a little bit of anxiety for us that people will book on. So yeah, all the events, and there's some amazing artists. Can you remember any of them?
We've got
list a few of them.
We've got Mirren Fraser, she's doing things here at the gallery. We've got Alan Birch, several members of the Art Society. Janet, who's doing a wonderful event about her book, Woolly. We've got everything from, like I said, for children. The Early Bird Project are over at Prestwich Library. Early Bird are obviously fantastic. They do all sorts for younger years. There's everything from watercolour to oil pastels to textiles to making autumnal themed journals. There's absolutely all sorts. And one thing as well, we will actually be releasing some more workshops that are to come. So one thing we have seen is that they sold out extremely quickly, but there are some things that we've just had a conversation about in Whitefield. We are getting some more activities which will be going up soon. So information about that again on the website. But as Sarah said, just a general thing, if you cannot come, that's absolutely fine. Just let us know so someone else can come in, hopefully. That is one of the things about this year with us having the workshops within the venues. There is always a possibility that if someone doesn't turn up, if you're there, you may be able to join in. It's obviously not guaranteed, but that's one of the beautiful things that everything being in hubs this year is that there may be the opportunity that if you're there, someone doesn't turn up, you could jump on.
I think that's a really good thing to say, because I totally relate to offering something for free and people not turning up. And I get it if people haven't paid and then something comes up, or they just think like, oh, maybe, it doesn't matter, I'm not losing anything. And, you want to be able to offer them for free so it's accessible, and because you've got the funding, that's incredible. But there is that element of, because it's free, then people will kind of take advantage of that. And then it's a shame that other people can't become, because it's sold out, so to speak. So I think it is just a really important thing just to kind of put that plea out there and say, we're doing this for you so that you can experience these fantastic workshops, see the artists and see what's available. But if you can't, then do just email or let somebody know that you can't, so that someone else can take your place. And as you said, Katie, if people are in a particular hub where a workshop's going on and some people haven't turned up, then there may be the opportunity. Keep that in mind, just to kind of ask if you're there at the time and say, is there any space if there is a particular workshop that you wanted to go on that is sold out at the moment. And if you put a list of the workshops, I'll put that out as well, so that people can know what artists are exhibiting, what areas they can go to. When you've got all your information, like the maps, I'll put that out there so that people can see it from me as well, which will be helpful.
Like you said, it's a fantastic opportunity because like someone like, Alan Burge, he's probably one of the higher profile names. So to have a free workshop with somebody like that it's just an amazing opportunity. And like we were looking, weren't we, at the list, and like, it's a shame we're working that weekend. I'd do that one, I'd do that one, I'd do that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe there's, more funding that can happen so that we can provide more of these workshops, and then you can have the opportunity to try them as well. Because that's definitely something that I also, can be quite hard to like find a venue. And then as an artist, you're paying for a venue, you're paying for materials. You don't want to charge people too much because you want it to be accessible. You want them to be able to come and enjoy it, maybe as a family. And then by the time you've taken all those costs into consideration, you either can't make anything, or you have to charge too much, more than you really want to. I know for me, that's always a bit of a sticking point, and people often ask me to run workshops. It's one of those things I struggle with.
I hope the more that we can do these kind of events, as well as raising the profile for individual artists and groups, but it's, I suppose, as an industry, for want of a better word, it's showing people that a lot of time and a lot of skill goes into making a piece of artwork, whatever it is. So people who might not be as familiar with, unique or individual homemade things might think, oh, that's really expensive. But there's, I think, maybe a lack of appreciation of actually just what goes into it. At Christmas was a craft market, and I bought a wonderfully crocheted bag for my daughter for Christmas. And the lady on the store worked for the NHS, so this was kind of a sidelight. And she was really apologetic about the price.
Yeah, that's very...
I kind of had to stop her and sort of put my work head on and said, you really don't have to explain to me, because actually I thought for the price, when she told me how long it took to make it, I thought, if anything, that's underpriced. So that's just a little bit of a diversion. But I think the more we can showcase people and what they do, it becomes more normal, again, for want of a better word.
Yeah. I think that's such an important point, because as artists, we do tend to undervalue ourselves, and it's one of those sort of sticking points. It's such a difficult conversation. It's difficult to know, because there's no market value in terms of where does it sit, because it's so vast. When you're a new artist or emerging, or you've only been doing it a few years, it's very difficult, because you've got to slowly raise your profile. But it's like, like you say, you're spending hours on pieces. And also the other thing is that it's not just the time it takes you to do that work, it's the hours you've put in perfecting all your techniques, your learning, your sketching, and the courses and all that work that will come to fruition in a piece. But it's definitely a very common theme among creatives. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
We've been really lucky. Last year and this year we're working with Lynn Kirkley, who herself is a practicing artist, but for so many years ran the arts and crafts program for very adult learning. It's great for us because she's got that personal experience of what it's like being in that situation, but is also very connected with a lot of the local artists. So some of those very practical things, it's really good and kind of take her advice on.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it from the artist side as well. I think giving Katie a lot of credit for the success of, like with the Christmas fair that you experienced, I think there's a real personal touch there. And I think that's because Katie's brilliant at understanding people. So it's not just a great event for a Bury Art Museum to put on because that brings in people, it's good for us, but actually the event was successful because all the artists and people who were involved in it were considered as well, and what they were going to get out of it and what it meant for them. So that's just a big well done to Katie. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, you did an amazing job because both events were absolutely fantastic. And I'm just so thrilled that you've been able to stay on and continue, because I know there was kind of question around that as well. And it's just such an important role. And I want people to realise how important that is. You have brought, if you think about what you've been able to do, and I know it's not just you, but you've organised the events, and to be able to have those events and continue to do them, because after both of them I was kind of hoping that it would continue, and when it didn't happen in the summer, the arts festival again, I thought, oh, that's such a shame. Why have we not got that again? Is that it now? It's just wonderful that it's not, because it is so important. It's not just about raising the profile of Bury and the art museum, and the artists. It's just as a whole, like you said earlier, Sarah, about for people to realize that art is just about expression of yourself. It doesn't have to be good to look at. It's about allowing ourselves to express ourselves and just be free and creative and feel okay doing that. And that's something my podcast is all about, and I am all about with my art. We have this kind of conditioning of art having to be a certain way, having to look good and maybe realistic. So it looks, you can look at a piece and say, oh, that's really good. But enabling people to showcase their work, whatever it is, just an expression of themselves, is so important. And if that's something that you can raise the profile on through your events, then that is absolutely to be celebrated, and it's fantastic. So I just want to say a big thank you and well done for that.
Yeah, no, I think it's something we're very conscious of. We've been very lucky for these last 2 years to have the funding to do it, but knowing that there's such a demand and a want for it, we need to really think about how do we sustain it? It's that same old question, isn't it? If there was no money at all, how could we do it so it still is the same successful event and people still get the same out of it? That's more for us to think about.
I think the fact that you've done it and it's been successful, and now you've got a pool of people, I think if that was to happen, you could potentially bring the artists and creatives in, and when everyone gets their heads together, then inevitably things happen. And that's maybe a way for things to continue. So I definitely would say, from my point of view, don't let that be the reason that we stop. I think there's enough groups and individuals that we can get together and create things for ourselves. And because we've got that momentum of it starting now as well, I think, there is definitely ways that you've got the success, and that is the biggest thing now to run with and to show this is what we can do and how we can help people.
I think what was quite nice as well was there's a few artists who didn't want to be involved as an artist themselves because they wanted to be able to go around and see what else was going on.
Come back and say, like, we really loved it, but I want to see it this year. So
yeah, I can relate to that. I went on the second day and it was so nice to go around and meet people and see people's work and chat to people. So yeah, I can totally see that as well. It's just a great opportunity, and I think you've done such a great job. I'd love to let people know more about the event. What dates is it on and times? Obviously, we'll put venues in the description and you'll have those on your website, but just so people can know when it is.
Yeah, of course. The event is taking place on Saturday the 11th and Sunday the 12th of October. We've got many venues again, completely across the boroughs. We've got Bury Art Museum, we've got Rath's Market, Ramsbottom Civic. We've got our lovely leaflets as well. So these might be coming through some people's doors soon as well. so we can share all the information in this. So the festival each day will run for approximately 10 to 11.
Wow. That looks amazing with people's artwork in it as well. Beautiful.
Sorry, distracting you with, so obviously only Liz can see that, but that will be out very soon.
I'll put some photos out as well so that we can showcase it. Sorry, Katie, carry on.
No, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, both days it'll be running from 10 till 4. Different venues do have different opening times. Please check our website to make sure they are open at the time we say. So it's one it says on the website. Within that as well, we've also got, so on the website, and we've got our downloadable link to our leaflet. So that's the leaflet that we've just shown to Liz there. So you can download that. That's got the information of where it's open, where you can visit, and the information about where on the website you can go to as well. Workshop links are all on our website as well. That's www.buryartmuseum.co.uk. And on there as well, there's links to where you can book. As I said, more workshops will be coming soon, so please do check back regularly as well. And if a workshop is fully booked, please don't be too disheartened. And sometimes they do get cancellations, so just regularly check. They may become available again.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's amazing. It's been absolutely so wonderful to chat to you. I think we've kind of covered most of the questions I wanted to ask. Is there anything that you feel that's important that we've not covered that you want to share or talk about? Any of the kind of like behind the scenes preparation or, any of that kind of thing that we might not know about?
I suppose you mentioned before, I think you said, I know it's not just you, but actually it is really just to the art festival. We brought in Lynn, which is great. So we have got that additional support, but through this second round of funding that we've had this year and last year, really it's Katie and I kind of doing that. Katie does a lot of the sort of, I suppose, the groundwork on the ground and a lot of the organisational, but it's the two of us really kind of driving it. So it's actually quite staggering what we've actually managed to do.
Absolutely is then. Yes.
But I think maybe that is just a flag that, none of these things are done in isolation. We've been really fortunate that a lot of the other cultural venues in Bury, so like the Met, the Fusilier, the Railway, Two Crows we've mentioned, and the businesses as well, who've got involved with all the events we've done in the last kind of 18 months to 2 years. It's been great that people are willing to be involved. And I think just generally for Bury, there's such a lot of activity goes on. I think we just need to keep pushing that and raising the profile, because we talk to a lot of people who work and experience the town centre. And I think recently there's been a little bit of a shift in terms of people's feeling safe in the town centre or not feeling safe.
Okay.
And some of a little bit more antisocial behaviour going on. So I think the more that we can put on that's kind of positive, like vibrant activity, it shows that space in a different way, but also gives people a different focus. So one of the events that we're working on, and this will happen in January next year, will be a cultural day, which will hopefully be tempting if people are feeling a little bit blue after the Christmas period, and in January when people sometimes feel quite low, the weather's generally quite atrocious. We want to put on a day with our partners across Bury that's light, that's engaging, that's just, brings a different element to the town. So I do think that's a really important for us and our partners to do more of that. High streets are very different to what they were, without getting too much into that.
Yeah.
That is very much the role that we play to try and show people, well, there's other things that you can do, like especially kind of come early evening time. You don't just have to come into Bury to drink. There are other things that you can do. So that's just a little bit of a general message there, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point as well, because I know that recently, since I've become more kind of involved with everything, like you mentioned the Two Crows and also the Met, there's a lot going on there. There's often activities during the day, during the evening, groups that meet, and there's a lot of those kind of things that people wouldn't maybe necessarily know. So again, it's just a case of kind of like going on the websites, the Met website, the Bury Art Museum website, Two Crows, and seeing, what's available, what can I go to that's maybe a little bit different and it's so diverse, and the Two Crows have brought so much to the area as well, and they've got more artists joining their studios and more workshops going on during the day. You know, there's such a thriving kind of workshop kind of activities and all sorts going on. It's such a thriving community. I think it's a really lovely kind of thing to highlight, so I'm glad you mentioned that. And Katie, you wanted to say something.
The only thing that I sort of wanted to, just sort of a general plea to local artists. There are so many, I mean, it's been astounding both years to see how many artists have come that we've never interacted before. So if you are a local artist and you think about getting involved with the art festival, because we did have a few this year who came forward and is actually thinking about it, I'm a bit too nervous to get involved. So please not be worried. Please come along this year, see one of our events and reach out to us. I mean, there's so many concepts we've got out in Whitefield. There's Whitefield Life Drawing. There's the Art Collective, Two Crows, the Art Society. If you are looking to try and get into art, please don't be worried. We are here and you're pushing an open door. So please do come and get in contact with us. And hopefully next year, all even going well, there'll be even more artists.
And I would add to that as well, get in touch with artists like myself or other artists. You could have a look at the leaflet and see who might be near you in your area and reach out to them, because we are so open and welcoming and supportive. It's really important for connection. So especially for me, having done it last year, I would be more than happy for people to reach out and ask me any questions about it, and I would really help and encourage you to do it, because it's not a scary thing. I know that it can be like, one of the things I found really hard before I started exhibiting was knowing, how do you put work, it sounds ridiculous, how do you showcase your artwork on a table? Like that is actually, even before you've begun, you just think, how do I even do that? Once you start realizing that actually it's not that difficult and there are so many different ways to do it, you can reach out and ask people, or you can have, you know, I just searched videos on YouTube, and that can be a huge barrier for people. So it is kind of one of those, or is, like you said, is my work good enough? You know, it doesn't matter. Just do it for the sheer enjoyment of getting out there and chatting to people about art and just kind of building your confidence, because it's taking those small steps that really does help you to build your confidence and to feel like, okay, I've taken that step and now maybe I can do this, or maybe I can do that. And you do kind of have to put yourself out there. But I think, Katie, it's a really good idea to come along, see what it's all about, and then hopefully it will happen again next year, and then maybe more people will feel like they can apply and join in.
One of the things that we'd like to do on the back of last year was maybe do more networking opportunities, because you said that there were certain things, just presenting your work, how do I do that? Pricing comes up time and time again. And actually just, how do I market myself? How do I let people know I'm doing this? All those sorts of things. So if anybody's got any ideas, anybody listening out there, of how they might want that, even if it's just, I'd just like to be in a room, have a brew and a chat, we could facilitate that. So I think that will be part of what we'll pick up on the back of this year as well, and maybe try and organise something in the next few months to bring people together that's a little bit more informal than actually having a formal event. So if you've got any ideas yourself, Liz, about that, like Katie said, we are an open door. Sometimes we have to close it. We're mostly an open door.
There's only two of you. But yeah, no, I think that's such a good idea. I attended some groups like that at the Met with Steph, and she had some networking. And again, there was some kind of ones around like, how do I approach funding? Or, you know, if I've got a project, how do I move forward with that? And that was really helpful, from the fact of networking, meeting community, like creatives in the community, and also getting those questions answered. So I think that would be something that would be really, really helpful for us. I've been so happy to have had you on and be able to showcase the Art Museum and what you're doing, because I think it's so important for artists and creatives to hear about the behind the scenes part. Like, you know, if in your local area there isn't something like this happening, why that might be the case, and if it is, how much work is going into it, what's your idea behind why you want to do it. And yeah, if it's not happening in your local area, maybe get in touch with your local art gallery or venues in the local area and see what options are available, because I do think, certainly for me before, it was just like, oh well, it's not an option and that's the end of it. And it's not the end of it. I think just having the conversations and being open starts that kind of process happening. And the more that we can have discussions and get people on board, the more opportunities open up. So that's absolutely fantastic. I'm really grateful to both of you for coming on. Thank you.
No, thank you very
Thanks for having
much.
us. It's been really nice just to chat, and
Yeah, it has.
great. Thank you for having an interest as well.
Oh, of course. No, I think it's really important to be able to raise the profiles of what everyone's doing. And certainly we can have, like, there's plenty of podcasts that are kind of big artists and that kind of thing. But it's really nice to bring it to local people and artists that are trying their best to get themselves out there and look at what options are available, what is happening, and make a bigger profile for people to realise that it is really important to bring culture to the community and what the benefits are of that. Because like you said, when you're talking about the antisocial side of it, and there's so many benefits to actually supporting our community and particularly creatively. So I think it's really good to be able to have these conversations and see what else we can do to help.
Yeah, and I think in terms of physical spaces, I'm seeing more and more places where local artists have, there's plenty of examples around here, like murals kind of popping up on the side of buildings where it just makes things look a bit more attractive and a bit more loved. Yes. There's an example where from the northeast, a lovely little video of an alleyway which had been quite grotty, like not very nice, and all the neighbours got together and either brightly coloured the back gate or they'd put little pots. It'd been a real kind of community effort and they'd really transformed this space. So I think the more as creatives we can encourage that, I think it benefits the wider community as well.
Yeah, definitely. Bring positivity and a bit of happiness and joy back to kind of rainy Manchester as we sit here in the pouring rain.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's great. Oh, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's been
great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for spending this time with me on Empowering the Artist Within. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired to celebrate creativity in your own community and reminded of the incredible connections that art can spark. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who you think would love to hear it. Your support means so much and it helps this podcast reach more creatives like you. You can connect with me over on Instagram at Empowering the Artist Within and continue the conversation, or at Art by Liz Ross. And you can also visit my website, artbylizross.com, for more inspiration, free resources, and a peek into my own art. Until next time, keep creating, keep connecting, but most of all, keep believing in yourself.